This is Blake Temez with the Blake Temez podcast, where I speak as a Catholic layman to Catholic laymen about missional living, wisdom cultivation, and legacy building in service of Christ and his bride, the Church. Thanks for being here. Something that we must consider, but that can be hard to pin down, is the concept or the experience of intuition. Intuition is described by different writers and speakers in different ways, but if we look at some of the different ways of most commonly describing it, we can arrive at some idea of what intuition might mean and how it can apply to the setting of ministry or missionary work or mentorship. Sometimes intuition is spoken about as a gut feeling, something that just speaks to a person from somewhere deep in them that lets them know what decision is the right decision to make, or what the correct next step is, or to intuit what is really going on when to others it seems obscure. These are all examples or ways that people describe an experience of intuition. Another way that intuition is described, and this one comes perhaps from a more cognitive, scientific perspective, is the idea that intuition is developed through a wide range of experiences and a wide range of knowledge that come together to form mental models that have patterns to them, such that when you encounter a new situation, you can act effectively in a way that appears to be coming from your gut, so to speak, but that is actually the result of this library and network of patterns that you're working with in terms of experience and knowledge, recognizing something in the present circumstance that lines up with those existing patterns and being able to act appropriately or decide appropriately given the information that you already have. It's kind of like the application of these patterns to a novel situation. And so whether it's something in your gut or it's the accumulation and the application of patterns, however it's described or experienced, it's well understood that this seeming capacity to feel how a room is working, or to feel the meaning behind somebody's question and to ask a good question in return, is a valuable asset in ministry that can help you stay both agile when it comes to responding to new challenges, and also effective when it comes to speaking into a person's life or a group situation, and doing so from a wealth of experience that shows up as a kind of intuitive sense of what to do. And the access to this deeper sense of intuition is related to something that I've spoken more recently about when it comes to access to one's emotional states and letting those emotions inform the tasks and the decisions that one is engaged in. I know that I've made the mistake before of treating work that I do in the realm of meditation or journaling or other things that could be in the category of like emotional regulation or emotional work. I've made the mistake of siloing those activities off from the rest of my life, such that I could say, okay, I've done the emotional work by spending 10 or 15 minutes, writing or reflecting or whatever it is. But then once that time's over, I kind of step into a different space entirely and close the door on that emotional work, as if the goal was to get that emotional work done so that things are kept in check so that I can get to the real work of getting tasks done, right? Or developing projects. And while there's something to be said for developing a good habit like daily check-ins or daily journaling to cultivate emotional awareness, what the real end goal, or one of the end goals should be, is the integration of emotional experiences with the rest of life, such that you're drawing from different cues within yourself, whether they show up as physical sensations or emotional responses or whatever they are, that rather than getting in the way of your sense of intuition, can actually contribute to it. That you have all of your senses and all of these avenues of information accessible to you, and the emotions being part of that. And so when that's the case, you can have that experience of feeling something like in your gut, right? Being the next right thing to say or the next right question to ask, and have that not be merely a cerebral activity, using your brain, but using your whole mind, including the other input and information that you're getting from your environment through your body and the rest of your emotions. And so that, as an initial presentation, can seem kind of like a vague set of ideas or recommendations, but there's depth to them and experiential anecdotes, from my experience that could back that up. There's the cognitive science that's being done around meditation and intuition and just like reflexive decision making that is based on kind of a collection of experiences and using all of our resources that we have to address complex problems. And so there's a lot beneath it, but just emphasizing for now that, like in my discussion about emotional access in general, the goal is not to simply keep one's emotions in check so that you can then act in the world in a kind of like well-managed way. But in fact, the most effective way that you can show up in the world is by maintaining access to your emotions and using some of those responses as cues to what might be the right thing to do next. And so those are some thoughts about intuition, how emotion can inform your intuition, and how this applies in the context of, again, ministry, missionary activity, or mentorship, in noting how you respond emotionally or physically to the news that someone shares in a small group, or a question that a mentee asks during a one-on-one, or when leading a retreat or a part of a retreat and kind of feeling the room and noting when a break might be needed, or when a group might need to dwell longer on a certain point instead of moving on to the next thing. And not being afraid to follow your gut, continue to develop your intuition, and make most of your emotional resources in your life and in your ministry. So that's all for today. Thank you as always for your time and attention, and God bless you in all your efforts. Peace. If you're a young Catholic man or a mentor, missionary, or minister who works with them, or even just a concerned figure in their life, a parent, uncle, whoever it might be on the lookout for the release of a short guide that I'm putting together called Brothers by Blood: How to Forge a New Path for Catholic Manhood. In it, I'll expand on some of the topics in this podcast and give you some points of reflection to see about how you can be a part of a movement that empowers men and brings them to their full potential for their sake, and also for the benefit of the church, and by extension, the benefit of all society. So again, thank you for being a part of this, and look out for more information about the release of my guide in episodes to come.